You have called the Melbourne East Police Station. If you require urgent police assistance, hang up and dial 000. If you would like to speak to a police officer, press 1. For property, press 2. MTU, press 3. Youth Resource Officer, press 4. Crime Prevention Officer, press 5. Planning Office, press 6. Thank you.
Melbourne East Police Constable speaking.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Marc Stevens. I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona. I do a radio show, and I was interested in speaking to somebody at the police department regarding the application of Australian law.
Okay. What sort of area are we looking at?
Well, just the basic application. The generalization, no matter where you happen to be, seems to be that if you're physically in Melbourne or another part of, let's say, Victoria, that the Australian Constitution and laws and the local laws apply to you just because you're physically in Melbourne.
Yes, that's the case, yep.
I just want to know if you have any actual evidence to prove that that's true.
What do you mean? So because you're in the country that the law applies, is that what you're asking me?
Well, I'm asking, since that's the generalization or the argument or the opinion is that if you're physically in Melbourne, all the laws of the state apply to you, I want to know what evidence there is, if any, that actually proves that.
That would be based on our legal system. So going through, do you know how our legal system works at all? Like, do you have a rough understanding of how our laws are passed and everything? Or it's sort of similar. I believe it's sort of similar to the American system where, it goes to the law. Like they set a bill and it goes to the lower house, then it's passed through the Senate and then signed off. Then it's enacted into law.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
I want to know if there's any evidence that it actually applies to me, or someone some of my friends who actually live in Melbourne. There's any evidence to prove that just because I'm physically in Melbourne, these laws apply to me?
I've never had this question before in my life. Well, it's just the same as anywhere. It's obviously in the Constitution and what's it called? The doctrine. There is an actual document about I can't even think what it's called, mate. You've got me at this time in the morning.
Well, I know you mentioned the Constitution because that's usually what I'll say. What evidence is there, if any, to show that just because I'm physically in Melbourne or another part of Victoria that the Constitution won't have any application to me?
Yeah. All right. 2 seconds, mate.
Are you looking for a career, not for just a job? Then why not accept the challenge and join the Victoria Police? Information on becoming a police officer may be obtained by contacting our recruitment information line. The number to call is 132001. That's 132001.
Hello, Constable speaking.
I'm sorry, what was your name, sir?
Constable. How can I help you, mate?
Well, first, g'day, and I'm a journalist from from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm asking a question. I can't remember the name of the police officer who I was just speaking to, but the question that I have is, and he agrees with the typical generalization, whether it's the U.S. or Canada or Australia, that if you're physically in Melbourne, then the laws of the state and the Constitution apply to you just because you're physically in Melbourne. And so my question to him, and he wasn't able to answer, was if there was any actual evidence to prove that.
To prove what, mate? Sorry, your question may have gone over my head. What is it you're asking? If someone's not there, you've confused me. Explain to me again what you're trying to say.
Well, the generalization is that, and this is the way the Melbourne police seem to operate, and all the police in Victoria or all over Australia, is that if I'm physically in Melbourne or somewhere in Victoria, then the constitutional laws of Australia and the state of Victoria apply to me just because I'm physically in Melbourne. I just want to know if there's any evidence to actually prove that.
Are you talking if there's any legislation saying that if you're in Victoria, then the laws of Victoria apply to you? Is that what you're saying?
I just want to know if there's evidence. I already have the laws, and we already have what the...
And what do you mean? What do you mean by evidence?
You know, facts that tend to prove a certain proposition. Your proposition that you guys operate under is if you are physically in Melbourne, the Constitution and laws of the state apply to you, and I want to know if there's any facts to actually prove that.
To prove that you're in Victoria is that what you're saying?
To prove that just because I'm in Victoria, the laws of the state apply to me.
Oh, look, mate, I have no idea what you're trying to say. I don't understand. You're trying to ask me, you're trying to get me to give you evidence to prove that you're in Victoria, and therefore if you're in Victoria, the laws of Victoria apply to you. Is that what you're saying?
No, I see it as a non sequitur. You have two issues here that you're trying to jam together as if they're true. If my physical location in Melbourne automatically means the laws of the state apply to me. I just want to bridge that non sequitur there and get some evidence, if any, to actually prove that. I don't believe that there is any evidence. I believe you just apply the law because that's what you're told to do. But there's no actual evidence to show that the Constitution laws apply just because I'm physically in Melbourne. So I'm just trying to confirm that by asking you, since you're a police officer and presumably you and your associates are carrying out this concept every day, that you see people in Melbourne, and of course the law must apply, and you must have jurisdiction to do what you're doing. I just want to, just establishing that again, directly from the police department themselves, that there is no actual evidence.
Right. I still don't really understand what you're trying to say, mate. I'm getting the impression that you're trying to go along with the contention that just because you're in the state, there's no evidence to prove that those laws apply to you just purely because you're in the state.
Well,
is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Well, based on my investigation, which I've done in Australia, England, I've done it in Canada, and all across the U.S. here. I've spoken to many politicians, police officers, judges, and we've done this in the courts, in and out of the courts. None of you guys who enforce the law or apply the law to everybody just because they're physically in Melbourne, you're never able to produce any actual evidence that that's true.
That you're in Melbourne.
No. That just because I'm in Melbourne, the constitutional laws of Victoria in Australia actually apply to me. Right.
Look, I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm not 100% down with the constitutional law. I mean, we basically investigate offences against the criminal law acts within Victoria. Constitutional law it's a Commonwealth constitution. So there's a lot of things that's within that Commonwealth constitution that I'm not 100% sort of down on and have a total understanding of. You might want to speak to a solicitor in relation to that, mate. Like I said, we investigate criminal law from within Victoria. The questions you're asking don't make a lot of sense to me in relation to the fact that I'm trying to say that just because you're in a state that those laws don't apply to you. sort of, I don't know, I don't really know what angle you're going with there. Sort of doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, look, you might be best off speaking to, say, someone from your university who studies constitutional Commonwealth law. Yeah, you probably rung the wrong place, mate.
Well, you enforce the laws of Victoria.
Yeah.
And so
you're asking me about constitutional law.
Well, that's included in that. That's just part of it. So, because the generalization, which I believe you and your associate already agreed, is if you're physically in Melbourne or Victoria, then the laws of the state apply to you, and it's that generalization, it's that argument or opinion that I just want to see if there's any actual evidence to back that up. And so, besides,
you'd need to research the legislation, mate.
Okay, so you as a police officer would not be able to produce any facts or any evidence to show that the laws you're enforcing actually apply, just because I'm in Melbourne.
I'm sure it could be produced.
But can you?
I'm sure it could. I'm sure I could.
You could?
Well, I could. Am I going to right now for the purpose of this phone conversation? No, I'm not. I've got a lot more important things to do. Oh. But look, if it came to it, I'm sure it could be proven. All right. But like I said, I'm pretty busy, mate.
I appreciate
that. If that's the end of your questions, I'll have to let you go, champ.
Is there a supervisor or a chief that I can speak to?
Probably not based on this, mate. No. If I'm busy, I'm sure my supervisor is equally as busy.
Who do I speak to set up an appointment?
Look, maybe you could go on the internet and find, go to the Victoria Police website. I'm sure there might be someone you might be able to get in contact with through those areas that might be able to help you. But speaking to a general duties police officer is probably not the area you're looking for, mate. But there might be some information on our internet page that might be able to put you in the direction of someone who might be able to help. All right.
All right. Well, I do appreciate your time, mate.
No worries. Cheers, mate. See ya.
Cheers.